Hi, good morning. Yesterday on my bike ride, I was listening to my brother talk about what had happened the day before. And he had big events and entailed one problem after another, one concern after another, one critical observation after another. And I listened patiently because I was interested in the event that he was talking about. But it dawned on me as we were in the midst of a beautiful, beautiful bike ride. The day was incredible. The mountains, the clouds, the green of the plants, just breathtaking. So much so that we stopped to take pictures. We stopped our bike ride, got off our bikes, and took pictures. And it came to me to say to my brother, isn't it interesting that today has a way of taking care of yesterday? And he stopped and he smiled. He said, so true. That's true. Yesterday's gone. Which includes the good and the bad. Today brings yesterday to nothing but a memory. And it's a memory that you choose to either invest in or letting it go. And in that same spirit, I'd like to add tomorrow has a way of taking care of today. Yes, indeed. So, reminds me of the old Mad magazine, Alfred E. Newman. What? Me worry? Yes. You can put worries behind you. Yesterday's worries evaporate with the dawning of today. And today, if it will include some new worries, evaporate in the light of the morrow. As you know, I love words. In one that's caught my fancy recently is Interregnum. Let me double check. It hasn't caught my interest that much. And I think I got it wrong. Interregnum. Interregnum. And traditionally this word has meant the time or the period between a government, an organization, or a social order. The gap, the time between. And as I have a fascination with the gap between heartbeats, the gap between opening and closing your eyes, the gap between breathing in and breathing out, the gap between mind to tongue. Special interest in that, trying to prolong that. But interregnum, and I have adopted it to my habit of biphasal. Sleep. And I found another word, bimodal, biphasal sleep, but I found another word. I sure did. Segmented sleep, to breaking into pieces. Well, this has been a consequence, this has been one of those changes that I've noticed. As 5 years passes since my permanent awakening, a change in the sleep patterns. The 8 hours that we're told to accept as normal, which normal morphs, by the way, into the new normal. But as nothing is new under the sun, the idea that man has always slept 8 hours is only a construct. It's a necessary construct since the Industrial Revolution, when the man, the power that be, needed us to go to the factory and work. This idea of 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep, which, by the way, has blossomed into a burgeoning business. Sleeping pill consumption. More and more people consume because they have assumed that 8-hour uninterrupted sleep is the be and end on for proper sleeping patterns. But mine changed. So this interregnum, this period, this gap between sleeps, I took this grand, big word and adopted it, use it in my life as a period between. And as I mentioned, not only sleep, but the period between, the gap between thinking and speaking, the gap between experiencing and reacting. Just saying this word, interregnum, slows down this process. And most times, this is a good thing. It gives you a chance to review and think and experience the consequences of any thought, action, or feeling. Because you do need to be aware, hyper-vigilant of thoughts, feelings, and deeds, actions. Be aware, pay attention, and you learn that you weigh the consequences much more rapidly, and you can dismiss behaviors, thoughts, or feelings that will have less than a positive impact not only on yourself, but the world around you. And if you don't think that your thoughts, feelings, or actions have a consequence to those around you, envision two things that come to my mind that I will share with you here. Number one is throwing a pebble in the middle of a still pond and watch the circles emanate and radiate from the point of entry, expanding. And just imagine that as they reach the shore, they don't stop there. They continue ad infinitum. So, your thoughts, your actions, and your feelings are no less than that pebble in a still pond. And the other image I want to leave with you is a story from my brother again. He's been on my mind really a lot because he's back into my life after a long period of absence. But he told me a story about taking care of a friend's dog. And this dog was old. He was on his last legs. He was really an old guy, gray in the muzzle. And my brother was doing online work at that time. And the dog would settle down at his feet. And my brother being the reactive person that he is, when something came into his world. Now vision him, he had 2 or 3 screens, 2 or 3 computers going, multitasking, talking to his employer from Hawaii in the US. So this input of the 3 computers and the multitasking, and he tends to get really involved in his work, which makes him a great worker, bringing his energy to the table as well. But he's in the confines of his private space, his private office space. In his mind, separated from the world physically, but connected electronically. And if something upset him, if something was not working correctly, if something was not going smoothly, he would vocalize and shout and yell. And the old dog below his feet would just jump up and just be so alarmed, and having put so much energy into this jumping up, energy that honestly he didn't have to spare because of his reaction to my brother's emotions, to his words, to his thoughts, and his actions. So my brother learned to tone it down. He didn't want to disturb the dog. So I've used that. I keep this old dog. It's always at my feet. And everything that I do is with consideration of not wanting to disturb the dog. So my thoughts immediately become my thoughts, actions, and deeds immediately become only those that are beneficial to this old dog at my feet. During my interregnum, the gap between my sleep, my segmented sleep, I thought about seeing, because the seeing as a gift of clarity has really stuck with me. And there's a lot there for me to examine. So I started thinking about seeing and what seeing really was. And as well, couple this reflection on seeing, couple this with my speaking the last few days of accelerating evolution, evolutionary acceleration. How did I put it? Evolutionary acceleration. And the day before, expanding horizons. Now this is all coupled together with seeing. And when I was talking about expanding your horizons, it led me to consider that we look at the horizon. The horizon is somehow out there. Now, what happens if you bring yourself to the horizon? What happens if you vision yourself as part of the horizon? And that ties into what I was talking about a few days ago with Stuart Wilde. And not only you expand your horizon, but how about exploration of your horizon? Explore your horizon. So bring yourself, instead of seeing the horizon as outside, bring it so that you're part of the horizon. And you'll start to understand what I'm talking about now when I say explore the horizon. Stuart Wilde talked about sideways. He talked about levels of consciousness, levels of vibratory consciousness that exists on this horizon. To our left and our right is realm upon realm, vibratory realms, levels of consciousness, so that consciousness is not just vertical, it's also horizontal. And you can start to really feel this when you become part of the horizon, instead of seeing it outside of yourself. Bring it all the way in. And then there's exploring to do of great value sideways. And in the spirit of seeing, I started reflecting about blind people. To me, up until that very moment, without even putting much thought into it, blind to me meant that your eyes didn't work. And I immediately knew that this was not correct. When we see, we recognize what's available at every moment. That's one part of seeing. Another part of seeing is observing the unfolding of events that happened right before my eyes. So, this is what we commonly think of as seeing. But when I'm using this seeing as a gift of clarity, it's not exactly this physical process that I've described as my acceptance of what seeing is. And it took reflection on a blind person to really consider that it's not about their eyes not working. It's about they see in a different way. Your body, we compensate. Your body, your hearing, your sensations, your sensing compensate for what the eyes aren't doing. So definitely, blind people see. It's just a different experience. Just as the gift of foresight, we call it. The gift of seeing clearly future, past, and present. More than the simple observation of what's available within the scope of your vision, or the unfolding of events that you can witness. It's more than. And just as the blind person's body senses adapt, are sharpened, improved to allow seeing in their own individual way, does the same process is part of the seeing as a gift of clarity. It's all the senses. It's a sharpening of all the senses. And it's brought about by awareness, which is made possible by silencing the mind. We can experience levels of awareness when we're not distracted by our minds. But it was also within this realization that blind people simply see in another way. when I was speaking of the fourth eye a couple days ago. The idea that it didn't see at the same, it didn't operate the same way as the two eyes that I'm looking with you. Looking at you, with you. I'm with you, brothers and sisters. 100% with you. And it could be no other way, could it? Yes. But just as a blind man sees, so does the fourth eye see. And I told you that I experienced the fourth eye as the seat of memories. That's where memories accumulate. That's where the art of remembering can be projected to the past, could be projected to the future, as well as embracing the moment. So it's through this interregnum, this gap between sleep 1 and sleep 2, that so much comes to me. I'm awake, but still partly in the worlds of sleeps where dreams reside. Dreams that are available for us in the moment, dreams that are available to us in the past, and dreams that are available to us in the future. So, all these things point the way of changing our beliefs and constructs of the working of time. How can you dream the future just as you dream the past? Because simply, obviously, you can dream the past because it's occurred, just as the future has occurred. So dreams of the past, dreams of the future, should at least make you question your concept of linear time. As I began sharing that vision about how today takes care of yesterday, and tomorrow will take care of today. Now I ask you, how could you have any anxiety? How could you have any worry when you release, when you accept this truth that the moment not only includes everything, not only encapsulates everything, but it holds within it the healing from the past, the healing from the future. When you realize that after all, it's only right now. It's always only right now. So when people say they want to live in the moment, What's the alternative? It's not hard because that's all there is. We're all doing it every moment of our lives. So relax. The message always for me is relax. Straight shoulders, they sag a little bit today. It's starting to warm up this morning. It's getting hot in my meditation room because I have to close the windows, close the curtains, because the noise of the waking morning is not conducive to talking to you and making this video. But trust me, the minute that I'm finished with this, I open the windows, I open the curtains, and I embrace the noises of the morning. I got up early this morning because I was inspired. I didn't really have my second sleep yet. I'm still in the interregnum, the gap between my sleeping. So who knows that whether I will, after talking to you, it's 6:44 a.m. for me. After talking to you, will I go back to the comforts of my room? Will I continue with my day and take a nap later? See, this is what fills my days. No worries. So today, we took a look at seeing, and you don't have to look too deeply to find the connection between seeing and being. Because they're both processes of the same thing. So instead of thinking as a polarity, seeing and being, seeing's out here, being's in here. See the continuum. Experience the continuum, but most importantly, relax, enjoy, observe, participate, express, listen.